It was before any of you were even fucking born.
What's that noise?
But you're getting feedback. James is working diligently on that.
Dick hurts?
So I was living in Detroit, working at a rock magazine called Creem, and a new album came in by a band with the hilarious name of the Dictators. And the album was called, equally hilariously, The Dictators Go Girl Crazy.
I'm doing it now.
And I just went crazy. I love that goddamn record. There was just nothing like it at the time. It was, it was, at the risk of getting rock critical, it was garage rock and hard rock and metal. It was even 50s rock and British invasion stuff, but all of it with this real teenage delinquent attitude, just the real authentic deal. It talked matter-of-factly about taking quaaludes and getting in school fights, and it made fun of the idea of paying dues and of hicks that didn't know the band members were Jews. It was outrageous without even trying. It was juvenile, careless, cocky, and completely true to life. It was dumb and smart at the same time. It was funny, and sometimes, like when Richard and Andy duetted on I Got You Babe, it was weirdly moving, at least to me. And unlike a lot of rock, before, during, and after, it was not pretentious. It was anti-pretentious. It was fundamentally New York, fundamentally Bronx, the borough that invented the Bronx Cheer, after all, and it was definitively rock and roll. And before Ramones, before Sex Pistols, before CBGBs, it was punk, because they were punk. Snot-nosed, good-for-nothing New York punks. Listening to the album over and over, poring over the pictures and credits, I never guessed I'd become lifelong friends with their producer and manager, Toast of the Tip alumnus Sandy Pearlman, who's here tonight, or the life... Yeah, Sandy has a lot. Or that I would be the lifelong husband of Ronnie Hoffman, who shot a lot of the pictures that I was pouring. I really had no idea about this. I didn't know she's also here. Or that I would have the privilege and joy of getting to know my favorite band's lead singer, the soul of the Dictators, Prince of the Bronx, and one and only King of Men, my old pal, handsome Dick Manitoba.
Obviously not used to this. The saddest thing about all those adjectives you used is they all still exist, except I'm 60.
You look 55.
Actually 61 at the end of this month. Thank you.
So maybe
you should all be doing this well.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. We have to get Richard out of here in like 45 minutes. But my first question is, what the fuck with the Dictators? You weren't like, I'm sitting there. You weren't like any other band when that record came in. Where did all that come from? What gave you guys the balls? Tell us the origins of Handsome Dick and the Dictators.
It was just a bunch of guys, like any other bunch of guys, who think they're the coolest guys in the world. You can go to any neighborhood in America and pick and there's a bunch of guys hanging out in that corner. It's like, hey, let's make a record. We're the coolest fucking guys in the world. We made the coolest fucking record in the world, except nobody bought it. It was economically an abject failure. People were like, what the fuck is that? We went down to do shows with Rush. I'm like 220 pounds with a red sequin wrestling jacket, throwing White Castle hamburgers at the audience. I mean, it's a form of art, but not the kind of art the Rush fans wanted to see. So, a question I usually don't like is like, why didn't you guys make it? There's so many intangibles in life. I mean, we were ahead of our time. The music sucked. We sucked. You know, the record company dropped the ball. It's like, you could go on and on and on. I don't know. We put the record out at that point in time. That's how life works. You finish your book, the book comes out that day. The record came out that day. For whatever reason or reasons, it didn't make it. The good news is, and I say this on stage often, is, and I'm a little self-conscious about this, I hate calling myself an artist, all right? I'm a performer. So anyway, how many artists do you know made art and weren't appreciated and died, and then 50, 60, 70, 100 years later, they were geniuses! Well, all of a sudden we're geniuses for Girl Crazy. I got guys coming in my bar in New York with their 20-year-old sons going, turn my son onto your record, he loves it. So, you know what, it ain't over, and we win.
I want to take you back to the audition. Now I've heard some stories from you and from other people who were around. But do you remember what happened when you met up with?
I don't remember nothing. You know those quaaludes you were talking about? Ask your wife. What are you, fucking animals? Ronnie told me one day, Richard, you don't remember going to the emergency room? And I went, that's what I'm talking about. Calm down, you sickos. All right, next.
What did Epic think? Do you remember?
Sandy, what did Epic think, Sandy? Sandy Pearlman managed and produced the Dictators. Sandy Pearlman, right here. Yeah!
So we called up Epic. Murray Krugman and I co-produced the Lights Go With Me and the Dictators. We had been very successful with Columbia Records, which in Epic was a kind of division of the vast empire. So we called up Epic, and which had been principally a classic record label that released soft classical recordings from Europe, but wanted to create, pop stuff. And we called them and said, you gotta see these guys. the head of A&R, Don Ellis, I think, was very knowledgeable, quite suggestible. So he came down, and handsome.
Where did he come to? Was it in New Paltz?
No, it was probably a rehearsal, one of those rehearsal facilities in New York. We came down, and Handsome had, I know this is really hard to believe looking at him now, but had taken a Quaalude before.
I'm doing a live fucking interview.
At some point, he leapt up on stage, and he sang Whole Lot of Love. And
He's saying Whole Lot of Love.
Whole Lot of Love. So Don thought this was, part of the standard act, and he said, you don't even need to go any further. You guys got a deal.
I never knew that.
It's all your fault.
The old Quaalude elixir. How many of you really know Quaaludes out here?
Oh, yeah. But I lived in Detroit too.
Yeah. But it was all over the place. I mean, it was the drug of choice.
It was the dry drunk.
Right. I know a lot of people don't understand how much you and your persona and your name were inspired by wrestling. Talk about what wrestling was like back when wrestling was cool, and who were some of your heroes.
Pampero Purple.
Pampero, the wild bull of the Pampas. Ah, Pampero Purple. What did Richard Meltzer say? There were men with powerful muscles covered by layers of manly fat. Wrestling to me, my grandfather came from Eastern Europe, and when I was a little kid, we watched wrestling. He loved wrestling, so I got into it with him. This is going back to the early 60s. And I always liked the heels. There's faces and heels, good guys, bad guys, and the heels were the bad guys, and the faces were the good guys. The faces were the good guys, heels were the bad guys. And I always thought in life, like, good guys are so boring. And the faces were like, I don't care. They would say things like, I don't care about the belt. I don't want to hurt the belt. I just want to inflict pain. I just want to hurt him and leave town, that's all. Bloody him. And I just thought that was so cool. And there were times I would go with Richard Meltzer and Nick Tosches and Andy Chernoff, and and a whole bunch of us would go to Madison Square Garden, and it would be like Bruno Sammartino, the Italian hero, against Killer Kowalski, and the whole place would be cheering when Bruno was winning, and then all of a sudden Kowalski would be kicking him into a bloody mess, and the 8 of us out of 22,000 people would stand up and cheer like that, at risk of getting badly hurt. But anyway, the thing was, I loved guys. There was a tag team called the Valiant Brothers, Handsome Jimmy and Luscious Johnny. That's what made a bad guy. Because good guys, look at football guys. God did it, I didn't do it. I get it, catch, God did it. My teammates are great, and God did it. And bad guys are like, I'm the greatest, baby. I'm the handsomest in the world. I do it all. I'm the greatest there ever was. I was like, it was like, I fell in love with Muhammad Ali when I first saw Muhammad Ali. That kind of thing. And Muhammad Ali, if you read anything about Gorgeous George, even Bob Dylan, were greatly influenced by this guy. This guy would come out, guy spraying perfume behind him like this. And I just loved those characters. So I got my name from my favorite wrestlers at the time, who was the Valiant Brothers, Handsome Jimmy Valiant.
Yeah.
And Luscious Johnny. I had Luscious. I like Handsome better.
West Wind, Massachusetts.
What's that?
West Wind, Massachusetts.
Is that where they're from?
I think so.
Oh.
They have that routine about eating oysters in West Wind.
I told you, forget the memory stuff.
Hey, before let me run down a few key. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
A&S, the orange one.
They're doing Quaalude references for those of you who don't know. Let me run down a few key concepts from your legend, White Castle. So you posed in a White Castle burger shop on the inner sleeve of the Girl Crazy album in a photo taken by Ronnie. You went there with Anthony Bourdain in the last year. What's the deal with White Castle?
Well, the Bourdain story is pretty funny, and since I can drop a big name like that, I might as well. So, somebody recommended me, and his people called me up. His people called up my people. His people called me up, and we want to come up to the Bronx and do a Bronx rock and roll Bronx thing. I had met Anthony previously once, so I go, look, I could take you and show you. That's where they shot the scene from The Godfather, where Michael went up behind the box to grab the gun. But that Louis hasn't been there in 40 years. I can take you right behind the White Castle where they shot A Bronx Tale, Gino's Cafe. It hasn't been there. I could take you to B, C, D, E, F. Not there, not there. What am I do? Point to a bunch of places that aren't there? The guy goes, what's there? I said, White Castle. So me and Anthony Bourdain sat outside. I'm eating like on camera. I'm like as many as I can get. White Castle. There's. I don't know that it's easily definable. I don't know that it'll come across to the great masses. It's something that it's amazing. It tastes amazing. There's an entire culture that goes along with it. When me and my friends used to go to the Fillmore East back in 69 and 70, we'd come up on the train and it was open 24 hours a day. And the people in the White Castle were guys and their girls on their dates, they were taking their dates to White Castle. Us, rock and rollers coming back from the Fillmore East. And then guys sitting in a corner who were from Bronx State Mental Institution. And they were like not the severely disabled. They were, okay, you can go out for 6 hours tonight. And they would just sit in the corner of White Castle and drinking coffee. And the whole thing. It's the whole culture. It's the holes in the burgers and the way they taste. I call them meat candy. They taste like meat candy. And it's like, you know, and a lot of girls don't like it. Like my wife don't get it. But it's like this. Like you either get it or you don't get it. That's it. That's White Castle.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
All right, the U.S. Postal Service. I want to know, has the statute of limitations passed so you can talk about working as a mailman?
This is a real exciting question, Bob. I was going to City University, which was free at the time, and I hated school. Hated. And I went because I'm a Jew and you're supposed to go to school, you got to go to college. And so I went. It's like I got bar mitzvah. I hated the bar mitzvah. I went, I did it. I bought 3 pounds of pot with my bar mitzvah money. So I got a letter from the post office to be a mailman. So I was a mailman. I quit college, I became a mailman. And money was pretty good in those days. And I bought a car, and then my friends were starting a band, which wound up being called the Dictators, upstate in a house up in Kerhonkson, New York. And about 18 miles away, we would hitch around into a town called New Paltz, which was the party university in New York State. The party, especially in the early 70s. So I would drive up on weekends, and I was sort of like the Homestead P&G's, right? All those places.
He's a Newburgh guy.
Oh, Newburgh's amazing town.
He's a drummer too.
Oh, good. We want to fire Alice. First capital in New York State. There's some buildings from like the 1700s there. It's really nice. But that was it. We partied. I came up on weekends. I was like the mascot of the band. I was like, what's Richard going to do? I don't know. He doesn't play. He doesn't sing. He's not an entertainer. He's not a performer. I was like the mascot of the band. I did, you know, whatever, roadieing and, you know.
The secret weapon, they call it.
Yeah. I had to do something, so that's what I was.
Yeah.
That's it.
And what happened with the mailman? You're leaving at the.
I retired early.
You're leaving at the part where you threw out mail.
I did?
Yes.
What? Tell me the story. I remember one time.
You're leaving out the part where you threw out mail and you lit your car on fire to get the insurance.
Oh, that's what it have to do with being a mailman.
No. Well, that was.
Oh, okay. All right. Here's the story.
Trust.
I don't remember. I don't remember throwing out mail.
You forwarded all the magazines yourself.
Get up here, Ronnie. I'm getting embarrassed at my horrible memory. If I didn't do a radio show 5 nights a week with 18,000 bits of information, I would think my memory was going. But one time I do remember is Playboy magazine used to come in a paper, not a bag, but you know, just this brown paper that fit around it perfectly. And once taken out, it was very hard to get it back in perfectly. So I'm sitting there going like, whoa. Wait a minute, it's all crinkles, like, you know, so that was the one. The way I got rid of the car was I was actually drinking in the bar next door to Louis, where The Godfather was filmed, that part where Michael went to get the gun in the bathroom. And I was on 2 Quaaludes. I was with this girl. I won't mention her name. She's still alive. And I always thought, if you were like from outer space, looking overhead and trying to say, what do human beings do? You would think the idea of driving was to crash into an L pillar. It was like I left the bar, got in the car, turned, drove 10 feet and crashed into an L pillar. As though that's the idea of driving. You crash into L pillars. And I crashed the front really bad, and I knew this Italian guy. Everyone knows somebody in the Bronx. I knew this Italian guy who did Alfa Romeo stuff, and he goes, hey, Richie, I'll burn the car for you. I'll get rid of it for you. I got a nice, I got a nice old Alfa Romeo for you. So that was the end of that car. That was the end of my car life. And that was the end of my wonderful post office life. Can't believe you remember more than I do.
Springsteen, he sang backup on a Dictators song, and you got the beat. Well, it means whatever.
He said something.
1, 2, 3, 4.
But
Hey, did he sing 1, 2, 3, 4 on your record?
I would welcome it open-handed.
talk about how you met him.
It was a great experience. Legendary studio called the Record Plant, that's of course no longer there, in the West Side, Midtown Manhattan, and Springsteen and the E Street guys were making Darkness on the Edge of Town, and we were making a record called Blood Brothers, and they were like in Studio A, and we were down the hall like there, and they were here. And there was a common ground where we would talk and hang out and watch VHS tapes. And the E Street Band, it was basically a bunch of guys from the Bronx and a bunch of guys from Jersey. The only difference was they were billionaires and we were thousandaires. But otherwise, we got along really well. The bands got along really well, to the point where Clarence came up and did a song with us at the Bottom Line once. And Bruce was just absolutely wonderful to all of us. I don't think anyone was allowed in his studio to hear the new stuff. Yet he came to me and Scott Kempner, Top 10, and he goes, "Hey, you guys, you want to come in and hear something?" And we went in the studio and he played Candy's Room for us. And he finished, he looks at us and he goes, "It's really good, Bruce." We like it. And it sounded amazing. And then, you want to do something on our record? And he came in and in the middle of Faster and Louder, he counted off 1, 2, 3, 4. But I must say that after that closeness, to which I stayed close with Little Steven all the years, so when he started his own radio station, he came to me and asked me if I wanted to be a DJ. And at first I said, okay, so we did weekend. I did a weekend DJ stint. And he goes, "Listen, we're going full time. I want you to go full time." I go, "You know what, Steve, thank you so much, but I don't like to work that hard." And he goes, "Just try it. You don't like it, you go back to weekends." I said, "Okay." So I did it. I did 20 shows in a month. I got my check and I went, "Oh, fuck. I'm staying full time." And I've been doing it for 10 years for him. So that was a great thing, part of us staying in touch. That really wound up being a wonderful thing. But the greatest moment was Springsteen, after he played 3 nights at the Garden, sold out. He played the Palladium 3 nights. And at the end of one of these nights, and I have it on tape, he goes off stage, and goes, "Bruce, Bruce, Bruce, Bruce." And he comes back on with the Dictators t-shirt on and dedicates Born to Run to HD and the boys. And does Born to Run with the Dictators t-shirt on. That was good. Woo.
Wow.
They're not saying boo, they're saying Bruce.
There have to be tapes out there, is that right?
Yeah, how I got the tape? This is insane. I have a really good lawyer and accountant friend who are Springsteen fanatics. The accountant friend went home, when I told him this story, found it on a cassette tape. I brought it up to Steven's office, and they put it onto a CD for me. Wow. And I have that on a CD now.
Great. That's great.
And they did You Can't Sit Down that night, too, by the Dovells.
Yeah.
I look at you, sir, because I know you know everything about music.
I saw him in London with the Clash, and because they were making fun of him, they denied he was, as trans hyper awesome as he really is. So I took him to see him at the Hammersmith Audition, and he did Point Blank, and he actually talked about you guys for a few microseconds.
Really?
Yeah. And
Wow.
afterwards, got out of there and they said, "Okay, he is great." They grudgingly acknowledged
The Clash did. Yeah.
Oh, come on. They were too hip to Alan Springsteen.
Yeah.
You know what it is? When somebody gets so big sometimes, it's like just It's not cool, you know? It's so big and so popular. Like people react to people reacting instead of having their own reaction to the artist himself, you know? Oh, look, all those idiots. And there are lots of idiots. These Jersey guys, you know.
Hey, which band was it that threw you off the tour? I couldn't remember that.
Many. We got thrown off a Kiss tour. We were not allowed to play with Nazareth. Remember? I think Sandy Perlman rented us a couple of AMC Hornets to drive from the Bronx. What were those Hornets, Sandy? To drive from the Bronx to. We drove.
It might have been Pacers.
That's right, the Pacers.
We drove from the fucking Bronx to Winnipeg, Manitoba, to open up a 3,000-seat hall for Hudson Ford Nazareth. We're big from Love Hurts. We get there and there's a big fight. What was it? ATI was the booking agency. Big fight. And no, yes, no, you're not playing, you're not playing. So finally we're not playing. We went and bought a big bottle of Johnny Walker Black, started drinking it, drove down to Detroit, stopped off, visited Lester Banks. Lester took us around town. We got more shit and more shit and more drinks and more shit. And had a great time, although I don't remember any of it. And then Scott Kempner drove 14 hours all the way home by himself.
That was a famous event in Detroit. Everybody remembers when the Dictators came through.
And Kiss.
Thank you. Trey here.
There you go.
Kiss threw us off the tour because my take on Kiss is if you kiss their ass, they love you're okay with that. Oh, with us, we're familiar. Like we were the same thing with Bruce. We were like, hey, Bruce, you want to see blah blah blah, and they left. They were regular guys.
Yeah.
As big as he is, he's kind of like at that regular guy thing still.
Yeah.
To me, and this is my experience with Gene. Like we knew he was like Chaim Klein, and so we would get to the airport and we would like talk Yiddish to them. It was like, no, Chaim, what's gonna be? And it wasn't funny, and it was, the whole thing clashed because we weren't gonna be anything except who we were. But the crowning moment of being thrown off of the tour came when I was on stage one night and Paul Stanley was going, pick a city, fill in the blank, Cleveland, Detroit. I hear Cleveland is a hot rock and roll town. And people would go nuts. And I sat there like this. I'm never gonna make it. I'm never gonna be a fucking big rock star. I can't do that. That's so stupid. It's ridiculous. I can't do it. So the next night I went, I hear Detroit is a hot rock roll, and everyone went nuts and we got thrown off the tour. The next day, I tried it. It worked.
Okay. Yankees, you're a crazy fan.
60 years old, my first tattoo, baby.
What?
Yeah, because my wife, all of a sudden my wife's got like, I said, I want tattoos also. I got a huge one of Bridget Bardot right here. My whole arm, Bridget Bardot. I don't want to excite the girls and take my shirt off. We'll save that. It's one, there's a million, you go online, there's an amazing choice of Bridget Bardot. It's one that sort of had like a classic pinup look. It's her coming out of the shower with like a towel, holding a towel and blah, blah, blah.
Who hasn't seen it? Yeah.
So, but talk about the Yankees. So, is it because it's a New York team? Is it because it's the Bronx, the neighborhood Bronx team? Is it?
The Yankees are baseball. 161. Is that the stop?
It's. I grew up in the Bronx. My father took me to Yankee Stadium. I saw Mickey Mantle walk out of a car into the stadium. That was God. That was my first introduction to God. Was Mickey Mantle.
That's beautiful baseball.
And I grew up in the thing is really, I hate to get serious here for a moment, but one of the most touching moments in my life is I have a 12-year-old son, beautiful kid, and like I look at it like this: my father gave me the Bronx, my father gave me baseball, and I can't give my son the Bronx, but I gave him Manhattan, but I gave him baseball. So our first game, I had this sense of like, oh my God, it's full circle now. It's like I'm giving my son this game I love so much, and giving him my hometown of the Bronx. And my father's not with us any longer, and it's like the whole thing just hit me. It was just like this like really heavy moment, his first game, and I remember the best picture outside of Ronnie's picture of me in Muddy Waters. The best picture is that there was this old black couple from like South Carolina sitting behind us, and they were like, Richie, you want a nip? And they go in there and have like a little bottle of whiskey. Like, oh, no thanks, but would you do me a favor, take a picture of my son? And they took this picture of me and my son that was it's hanging on the wall in my bar. It's these two ear-to-ear grins, these smiles. It was a perfect moment in my life. It's like, so baseball to me is far deeper than just a game. It's a connection between father and son. The game itself I adore, but it's a lot of things.
Yeah.
I told you I was going to be serious.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's awesome. So what do you think of the Yankees' prospects this year? Or do you even care?
What do you mean I even care? After everything,
You care if they win, or you just want
another
to
question. I just told you it's like the greatest.
No, you care about winning or losing, or you just care about being there?
No, I just care how they play the game. As long as they play fair and square, I'm happy.
So
What kind of question is that?
no good.
They're going to suck this year because what they did, the kids don't know how to run the team, the Steinbrenner kids. They took a bunch of players, like some might be good, some might be bad, you know, and they went like this against the wall, and they hope that 5 or 6 of them stick. Yeah. They're old. They have no game plan. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They're gonna suck this year, but I'll root for them. I root for them. They're on my arm. I gotta root for them.
And we actually did a video project where we had a bunch of musicians sing pieces of "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
Yeah.
And Richard sang part of "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," and then you got to see it on the
Screen.
It was for Hard Rock.
I got my picture taken outside with the guy from Run DMC, Daryl.
Daryl, yeah.
Yeah. But you want to hear the best part of that story that you don't even know?
Yeah.
Okay. I had a little problem with my heart about 5 or 6 years ago. I'm okay. I could walk up 60 flights of stairs. And I was in Florida with my family on vacation. And I come home, and I still have an answering machine. And I come home, on my answering machine, it's my heart doctor. And I'm like, what the fuck? I haven't seen him in 3 months. I haven't called him. I haven't talked to him. I was like afraid to listen to the message. And he's like, Richard, this is Dr. Johnson, call me. I was like, Zoe, what's going on? Like, you know, so I call him back. I go, Doc, is everything okay? What? I haven't seen you. I haven't done anything. He goes, I was at Yankee Stadium with my 2 sons, and we saw you up on the scoreboard. And I got a kick out of it. I know that guy. I worked on his heart.
Oh,
that's the end of that story.
That's awesome. That's great. Let's go back to talking about rock and roll. But so, by my way of thinking, you were there first. The Dictators were there first, and then a punk rock scene arose, and you kind of then became a part of that. What did you think of the other bands that were playing down at CBGB's? And
you name each one.
The
I'll tell you what I
Ramones.
thought. I love the Ramones. One of the great all-time American rock and roll bands.
And what did you think the first time? I mean, you guys had been there. You were there at least a year before. Not at CBGB's, but out and about.
I mean, I don't have a thought about a scene. I have a thought about a band. You have to tell me which band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patti Smith.
Awesome.
Oh, we want to see up here. Come on.
There's a picture of you with Patti passing by on that thing.
I smacked her in the ass when she smacked me across the face. Actually, last time I was
Great ass, great thing.
she asked me if you seen Sandy Pyramid around lately? I think Patty, I like Patty. I don't love her. I fucking hate poetry. I hate poetry, and she's just, you know.
Blondie, Talking Heads.
Absolutely love Debbie. She is as talented as she is gorgeous, and Debbie and Chris are great songwriters. Talking Heads, fat. I love Chris. I love Chris and Tina. They're wonderful people, but to me, there's nothing rock and roll about that band.
Yeah. I saw you play there, so I know. But what was it like playing there, and then what was it like playing the closing weekend? I'm really more curious about that. You guys were one of the few bands that played the final. You played the final 2 nights at CBGB.
Well, see, this is how cool Patti Smith is. She played the final Sunday night. We played the final Friday and Saturday night. As a rock and roll band should. No, I'm just taking a piss out of Patti. Lenny and Patti are great people. Patti is super talented, and there's stuff she does that I love, and like any artist, stuff she does that I don't love. Anyway, playing there, everybody was crying. Like, it's like, hey, you guys, what are you bitching about in advance? We're here, we're playing. Being on this stage is joyous. We're on this stage, in the moment. It's fucking great. When you walk by in a month and it's closed, then be sad. Why are you being sad? Why are you being sad in advance? You know, it's like, you know, someone's gonna die. Like, you know, be sad when they're dead. It's not dead yet. We're on stage playing. This is great. So anyway, we did that, and when it really hit me was a few weeks later. My son was still in his carriage. I walked by and I saw it like all fucking different, everything. But one of the joyous moments for me, having been such a fucked up druggie and having miraculously made it through those eras, that era was, I always had a great relationship with Hilly Crystal. And walking my son at 2 years old, he's like a punk rock grandfather. He saw like this fuck up, Richard, get his life together and now have this being taking care of another human being and wheeling him into CBGBs. Man, that was one of the great moments of my whole experience with CBGBs.
That's great. Did you happen to see the movie?
I wouldn't see that. If that movie was on my living room, I'd leave the living room. No, it's like you go to a cop and go watch a cop movie. It's like, you know, what am I going to watch that movie? I am that movie. What am I going to watch? Is it someone doing a bad version of me? You know? Plus, they didn't even fucking hardly even mention us either.
What about there's supposed to be a movie of the Legs McNeil Please Kill Me book, right?
There's supposed to be a movie about that forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe.
But I remember you talking about talking to you about it.
I'm not a movie maven. I'm not like an economics maven of what sells. My gut is like books. People talk about, I'm going to put a rock and roll book. All the Ramones wrote those rock and roll. You know, even Legs, who wrote that book, which is probably one of the best sellers, something that they go to as a Bible.
Is that your alarm?
That's Ross the boss right there.
I am live talking in front of 100 people.
That's Ross the boss right there.
Hello? I am talking in front of 100 people live.
Oh, I got a little time.
What do I speak?
Okay. Call me when you're done. It's my guitar player. Thanks. He goes, what? No, what I'm saying is, I don't, like, sometimes people say you should write a book. I have an incredible amount of anecdotes. I didn't write that book. I helped put it together.
The author of the Punk Rock Book of Lists,
Yeah.
co-author.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't think those books, unless you're a big rock and roll star, sell. I don't, right now, like the way I hustle money to take care of my family, I got to, like, I play in a band, I you know, I do this, I go on the road. I have a bar. If I put out 1,000 hours of my time, I can't get $1,000 back for it, you know? Like a book by handsome Dick Manitoba, a few people would buy it, you know? But it's not gonna sell enough so that if I put 3,000 hours into it, it's gonna be worth it. And maybe that's not a good artistic attitude, but I got bills to fucking pay. You know? I don't have the time. By the way, I shouldn't mention
poetry,
this.
fuck books.
Yeah. No. So all those movies about CBGBs and books about this is CBGBs. The only book that fucking counts about CBGBs is Monty Melnick's book. Because Monty sat in a van with them for 2,348 shows and babysat them. That guy has the stories I want to hear. Everything else is, there's a fucking, oh man, I'm gonna get in trouble for this.
Go.
There's a fucking Ramones carcass. There's not any meat left on the bone anymore. And people keep coming and pecking along for little bits of meat. The aunt, the brother, the sister, the girlfriend, the mother, the Ramones. It's not the fucking Beatles. They're not the fucking Beatles. I want to know every note the Beatles played and how they played the note and who was in the studio when they played the note. And I love the Ramones to death, but they're not the Beatles. And Monty's book is the only book that should have been written.
What's it called? What's the title?
On the Road with the Ramones. He was the road manager for like 2,300 gigs.
Yeah.
That's who you want to hear from, right?
Yeah. Yeah. If it's not poetry. I'm going to get you out of here. Dictators, they made 3 major label records.
Have another water, please.
Yeah.
I think you could spare it.
Oh, it's out. No more
Warner
water.
Brothers was my favorite.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Minnesota.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.
So 3 great records, and in really in a very short amount of time, it's astonishing.
How about the one we put out 10 years ago?
Well, I'm saying the ones in the 70s. And what I'm getting to is that, so you put out these great records, and the record companies didn't know what to do with it, and you got dropped by a couple of record companies, and then the band broke up, and you disappeared till about 1986 when Manitoba's Wild Kingdom emerged. And how did you feel? What was it? A conscious decision to break up the Dictators, or was it just like?
I was a really bad drug addict, like as compared to a really good drug addict. There are certain types of personalities that should not meet heroin. Heroin, to me, was like it was like the antithesis of what life is about. Is like, I don't want to get too heavy here or preachy, but I mean, if life is about having feelings and emotions and dealing with life, however it comes at you, and having a toolkit to deal, to get knocked down, to get up, to deal with pain, to deal with sadness, to accept joy, all those things. If that's what life is in a nutshell, and heroin is the opposite of that, because heroin robs you, it empties your toolkit, and all it gives you is heroin. And I was the absolute, like there are people who could take it and go, this sucks, I don't like it. My personality was one that is the worst drug in the world I could have run into. And I totally fell in love with it, totally. And when the Dictators crashed and burned, but I was, I would take pills and alcohol if I didn't have heroin, but that was as James Brown said, that was the king,
Yeah.
And in 1983, through, I don't know what, listen, a bunch of fucking luck, something deep inside of me which was there, which hadn't come out yet. Just a bunch of great stuff happened to me, and I got off of everything, starting in '83. And it took me a few years to realize, do I want to do music because I'm supposed to, because people expect me to be handsome Dick Manitoba, or do I want to do it because I really want to do it? And when the opportunity presented itself in 1986, I tried it, and it felt great again. And to this day, just a really quick little story. They came to my bar. A woman who works at my bar does production work on a TV show, and she said, "Oh, Richard, my wife is Zoe. Richard and Zoe would be great. on this TV show. It was a reality show, and I said, I don't want to do it. Reality shows are fucking stupid. You come off like an idiot. My wife's like, we're getting money. It's going to be free publicity all over the country. Let's do it. So I said, okay, let's do it. Halfway through the week, she's like, I hate this fucking show. And I went, really? I love it. She goes, why do you love it? She goes, why do you love it? Now that you know me for like an hour, you'll understand. I said, there's a camera on me and I get to talk. These people are going, Richard, come outside, we want to talk to you. I'm putting a camera on me, so I loved it. So it's called Barmageddon, and it's on True TV, and it's where the episode has been shown like 15 times.
Oh, we saw it, yeah.
15 times over again. And as it is, like one of the heads of the corporation came to us and said, listen, we really love you guys. We want to talk to you about doing some further stuff. I don't want to jinx myself, so I'll leave it at that, you know. But starting back in '86, I got back on that tip, and all the way through to now, it's like, you know, it's like there's just certain things in life that you do well. Everyone here does certain things well, and when you do it well, and somebody else goes, like, you know, you can make a meal for somebody. If they go, that was a great meal, thank you. You feel great, and you know, there's these things I do. See, I never even wanted to be a singer. I don't know how the fuck I stumbled forward into this stuff, but here I am, and there's something I do that people respond to. You know what? I don't have to figure it out. It doesn't matter why. It's there, and I love it, and people enjoy it, and that's all I care about.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to give some time for Q&A, but I got a few more questions. So, you know, you started a bar. You own my favorite bar in New York. I go to New York. I go just hang out there, and sometimes Richard's there, and he has to put up with me. How did that start? The bar.
Well, I'm the type of guy who's into getting hot on a Friday afternoon. When I do something for a while, I need to do more. So I did the bar for 5 years. It's like people coming from all over the world visiting, ching, 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 ching. I want more. What's more? Own a bar. You know what I mean?
You were a bartender for 5 years, yeah.
So it's always like if I do something for a while, I want to do the next step. I'm not satisfied doing the same thing forever, over and over and over and over again. So that's how that started.
Yeah. Sirius. How'd you get hooked up with Sirius, and how'd you get hooked up with the MC5?
Well, Stephen.
That's right, excellent.
Stephen, I told you that.
Right, little Stephen.
Stephen and I stayed, I had a Super Bowl birthday party once, and he came with George Shadow Morton.
Oh, yeah.
He came with Shadow Morton to the party. So Stephen,
producer of the Shangri-Las.
and he worked with Hendrix, too.
Yeah, there you go.
Really?
Yeah, uncredited, but he's the man.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so we stayed in touch over the years. He'd invite me to his parties, and you know, I actually don't get my paycheck from Sirius Radio. I get it from Renegade Nation, which is one of Stephen's companies.
Yeah, yeah, it's great.
He's a great guy. He's got a big old heart. Unless he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed.
Yeah.
Then he's like the guy in The Sopranos. Fucking asshole, you fucking.
And the MC5, how did that happen?
Well,
you did. Richard was sometimes the lead singer died, and you became the lead singer.
Well, there were a list of MC5 friendly musicians, guitar players, singers, and what happened was Wayne's an old friend of mine, and Kramer, and he had come into town, and they were playing the Bowery Ballroom, and they asked if I wanted to come up and do 2 songs. So I did 2 songs. The Village Voice covers the concert and said, Handsome Dick Manitoba just about stole the show, blah, blah, blah. A week later, I started smoking cigarettes again. Gee, I got so nervous because I had a kid. So I'm smoking cigarettes, pushing a wagon in the rain with bags hanging off the wagon from the supermarket. And I'm pushing the wagon, and I'm going like this. Yeah, Wayne, what's up? Yeah, what's up? I was like, listen, you think you can come to Europe for 2.5 weeks? 2.5 weeks? I gotta get home and talk to the wife about it. So listen, hon, can I go to Europe? It's this, that money, it's this. And it was great. It was this girl, Lisa Kakaula, the amazing singer from the Bell Rays. They're from
Oh,
LA.
yeah.
And this girl, like I would be having to like stretch and do my breaths and, go, and get ready to warm up my voice and get ready. And she would like roll out of bed with crust in her eyes and this voice would just come out. It was like unbelievable. So she handled the much more difficult songs to sing. And I handled the like easier ones.
Yeah. I've seen her. She's
And that
great.
was it. That's how I got involved with them, and stayed close with them. Still close with Wayne and Margaret.
Today you're on the road again with the Dictators here, Europe. How did that happen, and how does it feel, and what's next?
How did we get this band back together, Dave?
Yeah.
We had talked about playing with Andy, who was the main songwriter. We had talked about playing for years, and the thing that broke it in a negative way for us was about 6 years ago we went to Spain and did 4 shows and came home with like a boatload of money. And, we all needed the money. Andy went through a situation with certain deaths in his family and people left him money where he didn't have to work anymore. So that money, which is a pittance to him, would make a whole year easier, that one little tour. So we go, okay, let's do it next year. He goes, I don't want to ever do this again. So we waited 2 years and we begged and we talked and we begged and we talked and we waited 2 years and then we decided to go out. We went out as Manitoba, didn't make as much money as the name Dictators. Out of respect to the fact that Scott and Andy aren't in the band, I slightly changed the name and it's clearly listed on our website that, if you don't think this is a cool thing, by all means, stay away. If you want to have fun and you think this is a cool thing and, come and join. People, we got 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds all over Europe coming to the shows, having a great time.
Yeah.
So it's working out well for us. We are playing more shows this year by far than we've ever played in our life. Something like 75 to 80 shows, 3 tours of Europe, a few shows, in the West Coast, Midwest, Northeast, 20 shows in America, and about 55 to 60 shows in Europe.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And we're working on a new song.
I got one more question for you. Then I want to let other people ask questions. But it just occurred to me, you've got your own almost teenage son. Your kid's 12. Jake is 12. And what does he think of the Dictators? And knowing what kind of a kid you were, what advice do you give him about how to live life?
I give him advice. Look at my kid. Look at that kid. He's
going to walk around and show it to everybody.
The one you really want to see is his mother. She's gorgeous. This is my kid. He's Mexican, Jewish, and British.
So he's an awesome person. Oh, what a great kid.
He would be so embarrassed. What does he
think of the Dictators?
I think he just likes the Dictators because I'm his father.
Yeah.
I don't think he really likes my son is skips a jet. My son, his first concert I took him to was 60,000 people at Giant Stadium, Eminem. That's his first concert. Yeah. He wears white sneakers, white Adidas with gold trim. He never wears jeans. He wears running pants, matching Adidas stuff. I've never met a kid since he's a little kid with such a sense of style. It's like he's got the one earring in, he's got this, everything's got to be just so, and he's great. It's like a lot of my friends tell me like how proud they are because their kid likes the Beatles, and like when I said something like, well, my kid, and they said something like to me, it's like, oh, don't worry. I go, I'm not worried. My kid doesn't have to be me. I'm already me. You know what I mean? My kid, let him like Eminem. Here, hey, Jake, this is who the Beatles are. This is who the Rolling Stones are. This is who Otis Redding is. After that, you could like anyone you fucking want. That's it.
Hey, are you up for some Q&A from the...
Yeah. How about TNA?
Wait. Does that mean you want Richard to ask you a question,
We're
or?
going to start the Q&A. First of all, I'm 53 years old. The last time I saw your band, I was 17 years old. And I love the Detroit references that you've made, the MC5, the Indian Stooges. I love Blood Brothers, I Wreck the Grooves on that LP. That record got me through high school.
Wow.
So I don't know if I have a question. I just wanted to tell you that.
Thank you.
Maybe your question is, what is wrong with me?
Blood Brothers was my favorite record at 17 years old. Thank you, Handsome Dick, and Ross the Boss is a kick-ass guitar player.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Richard, what's your favorite record? What's your favorite Dictators record?
I like the last one.
Shit.
Yeah. You mean?
I mean. I like the last one. I just think the last.
Fucking out of here, man.
I just don't let the door hit you in the ass.
Who else? Stacia.
No, the last one, because what it accomplished, which is 20 years later, not trying to be young rock and rollers talking about, let's get, you know what I mean? Like, it was respectful to who we were, yet it still kicked ass, yet the craftsmanship was there also, so that's that. Yes?
So speaking of craftsmanship, there's been like this massive shift, right, from analog to digital and everything that happens nowadays in music. Do you listen to anyone now? Who is it? Who are your favorites? Like, do you have anybody who you was like?
Excellent question.
Do I
I find it hard, you know, like,
Oh, sorry.
you start with all this awesome history, and now I'm like,
I'm not up on new, you mean like new big stars?
I don't care about big stars, just like anyone that you listen to.
Well, okay, I don't, I'm sorry.
Fuck big stars.
Who do you like right now?
Will you calm down? He's my assistant over here. How many beers did this guy have? I thought San Francisco had a 30 beer limit. But I don't, like when I was young and I searched out music, I don't do that anymore. If I have 2 hours off, I'm watching a Yankee game or a UFC fight. I love the Ultimate Fighting Championship. But I don't have time, you know, I'm trying to write my own songs now, so I don't have time to search out. So I asked my son, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? He asked me, who's that? Who's that? But the thing that's so great working for Little Steven is he has like a 3,000 song playlist that grows all the time. So I am privy to, I play 400 songs a week and I do 80 voice breaks a week. So I am privy to 400 different songs a week, and there are thousands of songs. There are, you know, if I tell you there was a song I discovered from 1961 that I never heard, it's a new song. Because to your ears, it's a new song. Doesn't matter that it's from 1961. It's a new song, right? And it was the, what's the name, from Motown, Mary Wells. The first song she ever wrote was this like screaming, gut-wrenching, I call punk soul song. I can't think of the name of it right now. But it was her first song before she got sort of smoothed over by Motown. So anyway, that's how I get my music these days. I don't really go searching for it. Does that answer your question?
I don't know who you like, but it's a good answer.
Oh. Who I like now?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to sit and see names, lists, and go, I like them, I like. Oh, I work with a girl named Palmyra Delran. Palmyra Delran. She used to be in a Philadelphia all-girl band called the Friggs. She is a drop-dead great fucking songwriter. She's like my idea of a great songwriter. And the reason we got together is she was very sexually attracted to me. I love when I set you up like that. She lives in my neighborhood, and I love her songwriting, and we got together, and we're just trying to do some stuff together. But she's great. Get a chance to listen to her, Palmyra Delran.
Yeah, there's you can probably get their first record somewhere on Amazon.
Oh, you mean the Friggs?
Friggs.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great
Yeah.
songwriter.
She's great.
Yeah.
A song she wrote called You're My Brian Jones, Little Steven picked as his favorite song of the year last year, which, you know, is saying something.
I love your wrestling references. You know, I grew up the same way. These guys were so influential in the early days, you know, the 50s and 60s. Bobo Brazil and Lord.
Benton Harbor, Michigan.
Bobo was?
Benton Harbor, Michigan.
And how about Lord Leighton? Remember him?
I don't remember Lord Leighton.
Sheep. What about the sheep?
But listen to this though. When television was a new invention, there were 3 shows on in the beginning. Kukla, Fran and Ollie, Uncle Milty, and professional wrestling. And you're coming out of World War II. You're coming out of World War II where the country is dying for relief. So dying for silliness and all of a sudden you have professional wrestling. It was perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah. Hey.
Hey, how's it going? Great talk, really enjoyed everything.
Thank you.
Just really curious, not a music question, but being a Yankees fan and growing up in the Bronx, and being, kind of part of the scene in the late 70s, when you hear the quote, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Bronx is burning," what memories does that quote evoke, and what's your most vivid memory from that time?
Well, it was an insane, combative situation within the Yankee world. It was also Ford to New York, dropped dead on the headlines of a newspaper. It was also, I have a lot of police friends in the neighborhood from owning a bar and from having hired ex-cops. And this detective friend of mine who's amazing, during Hurricane Sandy, thank you. During Hurricane Sandy, everybody was charging their cell phones downstairs, and he said, "Come up to the detective's office." So me and my wife went up there, and his father and his grandfather were detectives in New York City, and he pulled out this stuff, photos of them making arrests of guys for Murder Incorporated in like 1932. But they also had these things called, there were these things that the cops and the firemen were handing out at calling it Fear City. And it was this like skull, and it was like, "Welcome to Fear City." And the cops and the firemen who were denied raises were at the airport handing those out to people coming into the city. Wow. So the whole city was fucked up. However, that being said, which I hate saying that, 1977, 1978, 1976, the absolute most fucking fun of my life. I always said about drugs, they suck. The descent sucks, but the ascent was great. And New York City was, I would leave my house in the Bronx at midnight. This is what you're talking about, that era. I would get downtown, we would go to CBGB's, then we'd go to the Mud Club, then we'd stop off at Dave's Luncheonette on Canal Street for a knish or something. And then we'd go to one of the 20 after-hours clubs, and we'd leave 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock in the afternoon. That was, and there were no shutting these clubs down. They were all open, and it was I called it the Wild Wild East. That's what it was.
Yeah.
What's your most memorable show?
That we played or that I went to as a fan?
I love you, dude.
That changed your life
Who is this guy? I'm sorry, sir.
Both one that you went to that was really meaningful.
Oh, there's so many memorable shows. There's so many memorable shows I went to. I saw Iggy cut himself open at the Electric Circus on St. Mark's Place, 1969. I saw The Who, Chuck Berry, and Albert King for $5 at the Fillmore East. I saw the Kinks, the Bonzo Dog Band, and Spirit for $5 at the Fillmore East. I saw the original band, Ike and Tina Turner and the Ikettes. I saw The Who do Tommy at the Metropolitan Opera House. I'm probably leaving out, I saw Jay Giles' band opened up for the MC5. I could probably, if I sat here, really thought like another 20. My own favorite show.
Boulder, 78.
I remember that one.
I was there, dude.
This guy's gonna be my Ed McMahon when I get my own TV show. Richie!
I love you, Dick. I love you, Dick. You're awesome.
No, Max.
You know what? I feel terrible because I'll probably leave here going, shit, why didn't I tell him about that show? Well, the tour that was memorable to me as a kid from the Bronx, really never having traveled very far, 1977, getting on a plane, dropping off my bags at the hotel and going over to the Marquee Club where The Who had played and Hendrix had played, and Sham 69 was on stage at the height of British punk exploding. And the Sex Pistols had a #1 hit, and they were banned from playing live. So of course, how do you get a #1 hit? You ban people from playing live. And we opened up a tour for the other biggest band at the time, which is the Stranglers. You know, all over England.
Bubbles.
Bubbles?
I don't remember.
What?
Head of the Hells Angels chapter from Wessex.
Oh, they were hanging out with us.
He loved you guys.
Yeah.
He was later indicted in prison.
I named.
For murder.
For murder.
I tell you, man, this is probably something you don't want to hear about because it's not rock and roll, but it happened during the tour. We did this amazing tour of Europe with this Italian guy and this German woman. We had just met them. I was a little nervous because we had never worked with them, and they did the best workers I've ever worked with, best tour ever. And
this is the recent one?
this is the reason, not Spain. We did 18 shows in Spain. Spain's always fun for us. They love us in Spain. But I had always wanted to see a concentration camp from the inside. So on this tour, we went to this one called Buchenwald. And the young German woman is 32, 33 years old, who was the tour manager. I go, why aren't you getting out? And she goes, I can't stand it. I go, you've been here? She goes, they make us go in school. I've been here 3 times. I can't stand it anymore. And like I say, it's not rock and roll, but it was part of my tour, and I took pictures of it, and I always knew it had existed and happened, but to be on the ground and see the places of the unimaginable horror and being a Jew fucking blew my mind more than anything has ever blown my mind. But like I say, it wasn't a concert. I wish I could talk to you later because things will pop into my head later. That was a tour moment, not a.
Hey, Pacey?
I don't write them.
How did you get in that? Like, how did you get to those ideas? How did you get the most creative? Like, when you have to sit there and jam, like, what got you to that place? You create all those amazing songs.
In all fairness and in all honesty, Andy wrote the songs. And it's a very weird, unique situation. The only group I know of that is similar in the fact that the lead singer had nothing to do with the songwriting was The Who. I think Roger Daltrey got a co-songwriting credit on one tune. But The Who works pretty well, right? They work, right? So.
Excellent.
So I like, see, there was a clash there, which I won't bore you with, but it shouldn't have been a clash because together we equaled the whole. Yeah. Because I had this charisma and this thing that people reacted to, and this other guy was on the chalkboard with the X's and O's. You know, he was like the coach, and I was like the running back or the quarterback. I was the guy who actually brought the X's and O's to the people. And together it should have equaled a whole and been a wonderful, happy, ever after
You created all those, like, insane rap on the spot in the studio.
Yeah, but
Jackie Kennedy rap.
yeah, but you know, as the years went on, as I got my legs under me more and more, I got more confidence. I'm doing more and more, and I need that person less and less. But for now, we're using those songs. We have played on those songs for 35 years, so we feel we have a right to play those songs. Thank you.
Anybody else? How are you doing for time? You got time for one more?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't care about that fucking show. I'll come in late like Axl Rose.
Anybody else? All right, I would just like to say a mighty thank you to the brilliant and hilarious,
Thank you.
the handsomest man in rock and roll.
Thank you.
Oh, brother, man.